With 1 week to go until midterms, we are keeping a close eye on the key gubernatorial and Senate races. Joining me now to discuss our contributors, Yvette Simpson, Chief Executive Officer of Democracy for America, and Sarah Isgur, ABC News contributor and former Republican operative and Trump administration official. Yvette, let's start with Juju Chang's exclusive interview, which we all just watched, with the second woman, Herschel Walker, accuser. What do you make of her claims? And do you think this will help energize Democrats as Election Day approaches?
You know, there are no surprises when it comes to Herschel Walker, and the fact that Lindsey Graham and some of the GOP leaders are trying to brush over his very extensive history of how he treats women, abortion, the fact that he cannot put a sentence together, the fact that he is significantly unfit, that he lies more than he talks. Every time he opens his mouth, it seems like a lie comes out. I mean, this is helpful. The fact that he has any following here in Georgia, where I am right now, is astounding. And yes, she is a very credible person. We know that this is a pattern for him. We know how he disrespects women, and he lies about that. So, you know, we always believe women, and certainly in the case of Herschel Walker, his record speaks for itself.
Sarah, why does Herschel Walker continue to gain momentum and have so many supporters? And now, with this exclusive interview that's out, these additional claims, do you think it will impact him in any way negatively?
I think it's fascinating to watch both the Pennsylvania Senate race and the Georgia Senate race as we sort of step into this new environment where partisanship trumps all. You know, in that case, you have a Senate debate in Pennsylvania, which clearly should have made a difference for some voters, and yet we're not sure yet in the polls whether it will at all, or whether people are starting to see their senators more as, you know, vote bot 9,000s. As long as they're going to vote the right way, people no longer really care who their senators are. At the same time, we also may see quite a bit of split ticket voting, where much stronger gubernatorial candidates in states like New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, even Georgia, will they be able to carry their fellow partisan Senate candidate across the finish line? Or will there be enough voters who vote for one party for governor and a different party for Senate, something we haven't seen? I mean, back in 2016, there wasn't a state that voted differently for president than Senate. Could that change this time? We'll find out.
Well, Sarah, when you look at Georgia and Herschel Walker in particular, are you saying the voters just don't care that much about character anymore?
That's certainly what one possibility is. I mean, you have both the Senate candidate in Pennsylvania, the Democrat John Fetterman, and the Republican Senate candidate in Georgia, who have really struggled in these Senate races, and yet the polls are neck and neck in both of those states, which we would expect, frankly, from much stronger candidates in both of those positions. And at the same time, we are seeing increased partisanship among voters. We're seeing sort of this big sort mechanism where people, whether it's on social media or in their real life lives, are surrounded by folks who think like them politically, and we're seeing a huge effect on our politics because of that. And these two races may highlight that even more.
So, Yvette, let's talk about also the fact that we're keeping an eye on the governor's race there in Georgia. The rematch between incumbent Republican Brian Kemp, also Democratic challenger Stacey Abrams. Do you think Republicans feel confident about their chances there? And how do you think this race is different from the last time that those two faced off? And where do Democrats stand?
You know, I don't think they should feel confident at all. I think they always underestimate Stacey Abrams' ability to bring new voters to the table. So all the polling is talking about likely voters. These are voters who look more like 2014 than 2022. Stacey Abrams has done a yeoman's task of really making Georgia in play. If it wasn't for Stacey Abrams, we would not, Democrats would not hold the Senate. We would not know who Raphael Warnock was. And so I think they continue to underestimate. What I'm seeing on the ground here is a lot of great infrastructure, talking to voters. We've got a lot of new voters here. And early vote is overwhelmingly high. Black male voters overwhelmingly overperforming in the last two elections. Black women voters showing up overwhelmingly in the early vote. So I always say, when you get to this point of the election, votes matter more than polls. We can look at 600 people who answered a phone, or we can look at 1.6 million people who are showing up. And Democrats are showing up early here in Georgia. So I would say don't count Stacey Abrams out. I think she knows how to build, how to make sure that people show up, and I think she's going to surprise a lot of people on Election Day.
Sarah, is it enough, though, her energizing the base to take down Republicans?
Well, I would just caution anyone from looking at the early vote numbers and trying to determine who's up or who's down. We have two things going on here. One, we've had a partisan divide in how people vote, but we've also had an overall shift to more people wanting to early vote. So again, really be careful with those early vote numbers. If anything, it shows that we are most likely looking towards a high turnout election. We saw a high turnout election in 2018, in 2020, and I think we can put that in a context about, for instance, the more restrictive voting laws that were put in place. Joe Biden at one point calling those Jim Crow 2.0. He mentioned 19 states, 4 of which actually have Democratic governors, Georgia being one of those states, and yet overwhelming turnout. Stacey Abrams, the gubernatorial candidate, has made the case that that's not proof that this isn't a suppressive law, but rather that people are overcoming it. Republicans, of course, saying that actually having laws that make sure that people believe in the integrity of the elections actually will increase turnout. It'll be interesting to see what those final numbers are, but it's hard to argue with, really high turnout across the country that those laws made any difference.
Yvette, I heard an acknowledgement of some sort there. Did you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is people are getting organized to vote early because we're worried about what's going to happen on Election Day. There is a fight every single day about early vote hours being extended because certain counties are keeping them low. We're seeing a record percentage of challenges to early mail-in ballots down here in Georgia. So there is still an operation of suppression here, and because Stacey Abrams knows how to build a strong infrastructure to make sure every vote counts, we are seeing these numbers. This isn't happening by magic. This is organizing, and she is fighting really hard to make sure every vote in Georgia counts against the governor who signed this bill in a room full of white men in front of a picture of a plantation in order to try to suppress votes. This is not magical thinking. This is real work. And I just want to quote really quickly what Brian Kemp said. He said, if minority voters show up, she will win. That does not sound like someone who is trying to engender the vote of black and brown people. So thank goodness Stacey Abrams and all the organizations that are supporting her and making sure that every vote counts here. And I think it's going to make the difference. I hope that it will.
Yvette Simpson, Sarah Isgur, thank you ladies both so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.